Thank you. We are going to call to order the Monomoy Regional School Committee for Thursday, September 12th, and we're calling it to order at 6:35. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our August 22nd meeting. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second. And a second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, and one abstention? All right, so that will move forward. And now we're going to open our public comment time, and our guests are invited to make comment. Anyone want to make okay, we have one. And you have a 5-minute time limit, so welcome.
Charles Gryska, 6 T-Berry Ave, Harwich. Two things. Just wanted to share with the committee. I was at the opening meeting of the Chatham Harwich Newcomers organization this past Monday. Some 750-member organization from our two towns of mostly people who don't have children in the school system this time. And it's the most well-attended meeting of the year, the first meeting as well. And there were 4 members from the high school that came over from the choral department with Miss Richard and did the Star Spangled Banner to start the year off. Just wanted to share with you, they were extremely well received, extremely. I've seen very few people get the kind of ovation that the students of the district got on the beautiful performance of rendition that they did. And so I want to share that out. And the program chairman for the organization highlighted events at the high school, such as the concerts and the plays or dramatic productions, as things for the membership to look forward to this year. So nice things happening, connecting with that large group of the community, and at least at the high school level. Second, I wonder if the committee would ever entertain the idea of establishing a second public comment period on their standing agenda. You know, the last school committee meeting that I attended, I had a question that came up. It was strictly a factual question about something that was discussed at the meeting that was new information to me. I didn't have an opportunity to raise that question at the meeting because we had passed public comment, and so it would have been out of order for me to raise the question. But I have been to school committees during my days that have had a standing double public comment period on their agenda, the second one coming just before adjournment. Because things come up at the meeting, people are attending the meeting, and they might have a question or they might have some input or comment that they would want to share about something that came up during the meeting that wasn't anticipated, may not have been anticipated from the agenda, or just a whole new direction based on discussion that went on at the meeting. And so it provides an opportunity for a member of the public to raise a question or contribute a comment to the committee if that opportunity were afforded. My guess is that that period would not be used any more than the public comment period that appears on the agenda now, or any more frequently, but it does provide that opportunity. So I thought I would just ask if that be something down the road that the committee would ever consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? So now we're going to move to recognitions. Dr. Carpenter.
I have a few. First of all, big thanks to the Harwich Masons for donating school supplies to the high school. They provided hundreds of pencil boxes, pencil sharpeners, 200 erasers, ballpoint pens, binders, paper folders, and notebooks, and we appreciate the generous donation for our students. Congratulations to rising Monomoy Regional High School 8th grader Catherine Nash, who was awarded a 4-year scholarship to Mass Maritime Academy at the ASLP commencement. We'd like to thank Stop and Shop of Marston Mills for their donation of $25, Stop and Shop of Sandwich for their donation of $50 for CAS families. Their donations helped us provide snacks to our students on our open playground day at the beginning of the school year. In addition, The Stop and Shop and Sandwich, along with anonymous donors, both in the store and in the community, heard that the staff was trying to provide for the families and donated 9 gift cards in the amounts ranging from $10 to $25 to give to our families to help them replenish foods lost during the tornado as part of the pound or hashtag. I have to get into the appropriate hashtag, Amazing Educators social media campaign. Monomoy Regional School District teacher Shana Grogan received a shout out from the Department of Education for going above and beyond. We'd like to thank Stephanie Murray for the donation of the free library from the now closed Wingate Assisted Living Facility. We'd like to thank Tim Wood and the Wood family for their donation of a Celestron Nexstar 130 SLT telescope for the middle school. And special thanks to the Masonic Angel Foundation, Inc., and the Chatham Angel Fund for the donation of laptops and backpacks. The donated backpacks were filled with laptops from the Laptops for Kids program, and all 19 were headed home with Monomoy Regional Middle School students.
Fabulous. Yeah, very good list. And also, if I could remind all of our school committee members to make sure their mics are on, please. Thank you. Oh, okay. So next on our agenda is the Puerto Rico Global Studies trip proposal, but I don't see the presenter. All right, so I guess we will move past that and move to an award contract for magnetic door swipe cards and cameras. And there is a vote required for this.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Katie Isernio, Business Manager. Like Charles said, there are many nice things happening in the district, and the district was fortunate. The Executive Office of Public Safety and Security in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts put out some safer school grants, and the district was awarded one of the grants for $60,000. And the priority of the grant application was for exterior doors. And we, in the 2 Harwich schools that are located in Harwich, we have the magnetic swipe cards that when you come into the building, you just have to swipe the card. And in Chatham, the buildings use a pin, and we're going to touch pin, and we're going to be replacing the pins at the Monomoy Regional Middle School and Chatham Elementary School with the swipe cards. The pricing came in favorably, so I contacted the woman who's in charge of the grant award, and at the same time we want to put some exterior cameras in for where the buses are going to be parked here at the high school and at the middle school. And we are going to be able to use some of those grant funds to pay for the camera installation as well. So that's kind of exciting news there. So we went out to bid using the Massachusetts state contract Combuys vendor, and we've selected a bidder, and I provided you the information. So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions about this. We're pretty psyched about it.
I would just say that I'm thrilled that we're replacing the keypad because it's so easy to observe somebody using that keypad. So it's not very confidential of how to get in. The whole thing sounds wonderful to me.
And I think one of the nice features is that you can program it similar to this building, that I could have access for a certain period of time and someone else could have access for another period of time. So I think that that'll be a good thing. And the grant, the funds just have to be fully expended by the end of December, which we're well poised to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Meredith?
I just have one question. Are they connected to the Harwich building? Is it the same?
The Harwich building is, well, they
Like
are
the
not the
swipe
same.
cards
They're not the
will-
same, so you're not going to have cross-building
Okay.
things. The two in Chatham will be compatible. I don't think we're going to be necessarily programming it in that capacity. Harwich Elementary School has its own vendor that and then the high school has a different one. But I don't see it as a problem.
Great.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Nancy?
Make a motion?
Yep, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the contract with Ockers for $65,842. The contract is for the installation of the magnetic swipe cards at Chatham Elementary School and Monomoy Regional Middle School, and the installation of exterior security camera for the bus lots at the middle school and the high school. The request for quotes obtained through Combis was received on 8/27/19. And just as a reminder that the district did receive $60,000 grant from the Safer Schools grant through the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security.
All right, thank you. We have a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, second. All those in, or any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, motion carries. All right, the next thing on our agenda is information on govdeals.com, which is an online auction site.
This is informational for you as well as the community at large. We used this online site when we were doing the building project, and what it will provide us with is the opportunity to upload and put on our link on our website to the GovDeals website so that people locally can bid on surplus, and then it goes out then nationwide, that, so one man's trash is another man's treasure, as I've said. I just wanted you to be aware of it. I'll be working with Joy, putting out a blast. We had like a drill press at the high school we no longer use, but it's a value. The first few years when we brought surplus, most of it was just stuff that we were cleaning out through, coming together for regionalization. But now there are things that definitely, we might not have use for them, but others will. So we're going to be working with GovDeals that there's no charge for us, so that we'll have a wider area for people to see the surplus that we have.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And in your packet, I think there was a one-pager on it. I just didn't want you to see this link all of a sudden on our website and wondering what the heck that was all about.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Harwich Elementary School MCLP after-school program.
So I just want to give the committee sort of an update on where we are with this. So as I had emailed the committee, Ann Emerson, who had long run the Harwich Elementary School's MCLP after-school program and also summer programming, retired at the end of last month, right before the start of the school year, which created a little interesting challenge for us at the last moment. I'd like to just thank a couple people in particular who really stepped up. We have a new part-time high school wellness teacher, Dan Schwartzman, who stepped up to sort of help take over a lot of the logistical operations over at the MCLP program, and a Harwich Elementary School teacher who had worked for a number of years with the program. Meg Schaefer has been doing some unsung help for us. But we had a number of staff from Harwich Elementary School that kind of stepped up to help us fill in. We have, I sent an email blast out to the families, reached out to the two councils for the aging, just to see if we could get additional staffers in there. In the ideal world, we want to have about 5 to 7, I call them non-high school students, right at the end of the school day, because there's about an hour and a half before high school students really come in to supplement the supports we have in place. But we want to make sure that we're running a ratio of about 10 to 1 in that program. And so we're in the process of hiring. I know Mary has hired a couple people in just the last couple days to add to the staffing that we've had. And we have an ad that's out there in the Cape Cod Times and the local newspapers, just seeking seeking that so that hopefully we can sort of transition from people that have stepped in short term, knowing we needed that help, to sort of bridge us to a longer term solution. I've also had a meeting with Katie and I and the YMCA of Cape Cod, looking at their ability and interest to expand the supports that they're providing at Harwich Elementary School. The YMCA of Cape Cod does after-school programming at Falmouth Public Schools, and with them soon to be fully functional in the next few weeks with the infant, toddler, and preschool program at Harwich Elementary School. We've talked to them about potentially having a person who could support a program upstairs and a program downstairs. So we still have conversations to continue with the YMCA on that. They're sort of in many ways an ideal partner to sort of step in to have wraparound supports that go into summertime camps and everything else. We will have a parent forum that we'll be publicizing the evening of October 1st, I think at 6:30, to invite the families that utilize that after-school program to kind of meet with us and talk with us about their wants and hopes for that program. We'll also invite the YMCA to be part of those discussions, and we have a meeting next week with folks at the Y to talk about how we can collaborate together on this. So as we kind of get this, sort of think about it, further over the course of the next month, we'll bring it back here and discuss it more at the school committee. But I think in concept, we initially talked to them about, we'll provide and make sure that we've got the staffing that's down there. Can we look towards them initially for sort of the overall organization, and then at some point when it makes sense for all, sort of transition everything over. But again, lots of details to get worked out. But until then, from the perspective of the kids and the families, it's strong after-school supports, and that's what we want to make sure that we've got in place for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions regarding that? Sharon?
Yeah, so I know that the after-school program's been a very popular after-school program, and I haven't really kept up with all of it, but there were some programs that were like till 4, and I'm not sure if they went from one week, one period to the next.
We could have Mary talk about the clubs. So there's still clubs.
Yes.
There are clubs that happen on the school side. There are clubs that happen on the.
Yes.
I know
Mary
parents
Oldak.
were hoping that we could have something so it could be like something continuous rather than a club and then nothing.
Right. So I'm Mary Oldak, principal of Harwich Elementary School. MCLP had traditionally run what were called enrichment clubs, and Harwich Elementary had run clubs. And it was very confusing for families, and we're looking to take this as an opportunity to kind of dovetail the two programs and make it more clear to families that they're all after-school opportunities for their children. So right now we do have out the brochure for the enrichment classes through MCLP and Harwich Elementary School, and they run every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There are no classes on Fridays, and they begin the week of September 23rd. And we also will be having the Harwich Elementary School chorus, and that registration hasn't started yet, but that will be on Tuesdays as well.
Any additional questions, comments?
I guess I just have a question. Are we looking to provide something at comparable low-cost appearance?
Right, so that's something I'm really looking to streamlining and making more consistent for families. In the past, since January, the Harwich Elementary School clubs were offered free of charge, like our drama club, for example. And the MCLP clubs, or classes, that we're now calling them classes, are offered anywhere between, I think it's about $55 to about $90 for 8 to 9 weeks. And that's been a fee scale that's been, seems to have been dependent upon the need of materials. For example, there's a class on spa science, and there are more materials needed than, for example, gym games. So I would really look forward to this opportunity to really equalize that fee structure in some way, ideally, given the fact that we have 45% of our students now qualifying for free and reduced lunch. To actually, would love to see just doing away with the cost, period. So it's a perfect opportunity to be looking at all of that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the Chatham Elementary School Playground, and looks like we have a vote required, so Katie?
Hi, everybody. I'm going to ask Dr. Millen to come over, and because she's done all the heavy lifting here, and I kind of swooped in and put together a bid based on all of her information. So I just want to kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's been going on. As you know, they've been, I don't know how many years, Robin, have you been working on this?
5.
5 years. And lo and behold, it's going to be here fast. And we went out using the Mass State Contract combis, and we solicited some requests for quotes from vendors that were on the state contract vendor list. We received 3, and we were looking for a brand called Play Booster, which is similar to what is in the preschool part of the playground. Anyway, that being said, I'm here tonight to just fill you in that we, as you remember, the Community Preservation Committee provided $295,000 in funding for the playground. What you have in front of you is information on the equipment and the installation. We have been in contact with the town of Chatham, and the DPW and the Park and Rec is going to work with us to do some site work so that we can reduce the cost of the site work and work collaboratively with the town, which I'd like Robin to speak to, kind of how they've been involved in the whole process already. Right? Right, yeah.
Hi, I'm Robin Millen, principal of Chatham Elementary School. So the town has been at the table the whole time. I mean, since when I took over as principal, Superintendent Carpenter says to me, build a playground. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started, there had been an existing playground committee that had started under Principal O'Shea. We picked it up, brought every much larger community base to the table, including the community, like merchants, the town. So all the way along the way, the DPW, the town, Whalen, I don't remember, yeah, Park and Rec. I'm trying to think what Mr. Whalen does at the town, but he's got a heading somehow. And they've been helping us along the whole way. So they have graciously agreed to do some of the site work, because our bid that came in and our monies that we've either earned through the PTO, which has done a lion's share of efforts to make some money and put it into our funding as well, and the CPC grants is still short. So it's awfully nice of the town to be at the table with us and to help us along on this.
So, fingers crossed everyone approves this tonight, then it's going to happen fast, because we are going to have it in, and it will be done by the end of October, middle of November. So, I mean, we're talking Zoom, getting it done, so it's kind of like, well, it's taking this long, and then it's going to be there before we know it. There'll be obviously some disruption over at the elementary school during the process, but it will be well worth the disruption. So, it's exciting.
Yes. Any questions, comments before we move into a vote on this? Nancy?
So the contract is for less than what was received from the CPC. So the site work And that's going to be that much more?
Yes.
How much more-ish? Precisely-ish?
It could be, I'm going to say anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit of wiggle room in the CPC funds. And then at the time, so I separated out and awarding on the equipment, the labor, the cleanup. And then we need to have the conversations with how much will the town do, that then what is it that the vendor will need to do? Because one of the things is that will help with accessibility for all is using the poured-in-place surface. And that's going to require some very specific site work that we'll have to leave to the playground equipment people. So that's another piece of it. But some of the chunks of the, removing things and, doing kind of the bigger grunt work was what the DPW will be able to do.
Okay.
So in a meeting probably scheduled, I would think is, tomorrow if we could, or Tuesday, then we could really kind of fine tune exactly what that is, and then we'll have a better sense of just what the dollar amount is that's related to the site work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Questions, comments?
I just want to say, Robin, I appreciate all the work you've put in on this, because I know, I can speak personally for me. When I first came to Chatham, and I remember taking my family and going over to Chatham Elementary School, I was like, oh wow, such a great playground. And then slowly I realized that the playground over in front of the community center wasn't the elementary school's playground, and that there was a playground that needed some tender, loving help. Particularly when my daughter in fourth grade, would talk about, digging for coal was sort of like the popular thing to do.
I think I still have coal in my house.
And so I'm so looking forward to seeing a playground really fit for such a wonderful school and the families.
Anyone else? All right, so now we need to move into a vote on this. So may I have a motion, please?
May I move to approve the contract with M.E. O'Brien and Sons for $279,500. Contract is for the equipment, labor, and installation of the playground at Chatham Elementary School. Request for quotes was obtained through Combis, received on 8/29/19. The Chatham Elementary School did receive a $295,000 grant would that be considered grant? From the Community Preservation Committee, the CPC of the town of Chatham, to be put toward the playground improvements. The price of the contract award does not include the cost of the site work the district will be working with the town of Chatham and the vendor to accomplish.
Thank you.
This.
May I have a second, please?
Second?
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, motion carries. All right, next on our agenda is a revised first reading of our school committee goals for the year 2019-20. So in your packet, you have the revisions. I guess we're just reviewing. Any discussions, questions? Did we capture some of those edits we talked about last time? All right, so this is just a first reading, and this will come back the next meeting for a vote. But just take a quick peek. Any comments? More edits? Look good? All right.
I think it looks good.
Okay, looks good. What about our grammar team over there? Anything? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, good. All right, wonderful. Okay, so that will come back next meeting for a vote. And then we are moving on to item number 7, section E. It's FY19 prior year invoice approval.
Should be the Katie meeting.
Hello. Welcome to the, yeah. We had encumbered monies for the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative invoices, but the invoices came up a little higher than what we had encumbered at the remainder of the year. So we have $2,358.30 that was not encumbered that we need to pay that's related to electric services for FY19. So I need approval to use current year money to pay a prior year invoice.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion for this approval, please? Who would like to make the motion? All right, Nancy.
I move to approve the amount of $2,358.30 in current year to pay a prior year invoice for Cape Vineyard Electric.
And a second?
Second.
second it.
All right.
Now you all jump in.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, that motion carries. Now we're into Section F, Subcommittee Reports, Board of Selectmen Liaison Report, which I think is me. I will report that I have met, it was our intention, one of our goals that we're working on going into this new year is to have a better relationship, or a good relationship, building a relationship with our Board of Selectmen, and one of the intentions that I put on the table and a goal that I set for myself was to meet with each select person individually. I have had 4 meetings. I have 1 more to go, and I've gotten some very, very good feedback. Everyone is very open about having us be on their agenda. So I'm having some conversations with them, and I met with the chairperson today for the Board of the Select Board, and so we're going to figure out getting on the agenda. So that was very well received, and kind of had some conversations about how we could approach the budget differently. So I could certainly, when we get into our finance subcommittee, I guess we could start having some conversations about that and really engaging the public a little more. There were some suggestions about perhaps educating the public a little bit more about what goes into a school budget. I think there were a lot of questions that people think they might know a school budget. They might think they know it, but there's a lot of questions about it. So we kind of some brainstorming in these sessions, but they were very, very good sessions, and I have 1 more to go. And then perhaps I can put together some bulleted items and present them next meeting for some discussion.
Great.
Sounds great.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Anybody else? I know there's nothing else on here, but does anybody else have a subcommittee report? Yes?
I don't have a subcommittee report, but I'm thinking if I squeeze it in here, it might help. So if the goals are approved at the next meeting, then we should have a draft of the regional agreement, which I have taken on as my task for the year. So the goals state that we will review a draft at our meeting by September 2019, which would mean that at our next meeting, we have to review a draft. So I set a goal for myself to have a red line and a clean version of the regional agreement that we are hopefully going to be looking at to push forward at our next meeting as a first reading, and then we could vote on it at our first meeting in October. And so what I hope to have is that out to the committee in enough time, hopefully before next weekend, so you have, so next weekend, so you have a weekend and then till Thursday to review the draft, so that when we come to our meeting, it's not looking at it for the first time, so that the next meeting, if I can do my math quickly, the 26th would be our first reading, and then we can hope to vote at our first meeting in October so that we can follow the timeline that we hopefully approve on our school committee goals for the year. So it's not really a subcommittee, so it might be a little out of order, but.
But I'm glad you brought it up, because that was a point of conversation with one of the select people. They were asking what our plan was for that.
That's my plan.
Yes, and I said that we absolutely have a plan, and they were putting somebody right on top of it, so.
I'm on top.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sharon?
So I just have a question about that, because I know we had done that for last year.
Oh, we've done it a couple times.
Yes, and so what are the thoughts about why would it be different than what we did last year, or what would be different?
Go ahead.
It's not that it's going to be different, but there was, so the part of the issue stemmed that there was a chunk, the final draft that we voted on at our committee before putting it forward to the selectmen, there was a paragraph or two that should have been removed. And we need to remove that because it's unnecessary and it shouldn't be in there. So regardless of what we voted on last year, probably right around this time, maybe November, October, it should be revisited anyway. So there's not going to be that much. I'm not making it sound like I'm going to do gobs of work of retyping the entire regional agreement, but if you want to think I'm doing that, then that's great. But it's just making sure that what we voted on last year, and then what we had questions on from the selectmen, that piece is removed so that it's clean. And then making sure we have a redlined copy so that we know what changes were made, and then having a clean copy of what we're actually voting on.
Okay.
That's what I
knew that,
pictured.
I remembered there being some kind of glitch somewhere in the procedure.
That would be the glitch.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That was glitch number one.
Yes.
There was a second glitch too, but we won't discuss those because those are not going to happen again.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And let me just add, since we're still in this little section here of subcommittee, going back to the budget real quickly, and again, I'll put these bullet items, but just to kind of get you to thinking, there was a consensus, putting forth an easy to understand budget for your common person, but, we can kind of talk about maybe offering even a budget workshop where people could come, we could walk through the budget, answer their questions. So I think the goal, as these conversations were going, the goal is how quickly and easily can we put this budget out, just step, so people have all these opportunities to get this understanding and get their questions answered. So again, I will come back with the next meeting with some bulleted items. The other comment I will make is vaping also came up in some of my conversations. There was a concern about that, and they're reading articles and wanted to know what was happening here. So I was able, Janie was here last time. Ms. Girolamo was here. And so I was able to report about that and invited them to go back and watch that segment. So that was another issue that I spoke to a couple of them about. So, but anyway, very, very good meetings, and there's definitely a willingness to really work with us, and I'm excited. So I've got one more meeting to go. All right, any other comments about that? All right, so we will move into the superintendent's report and hear about your reflections on opening day.
I don't know, at the rate we're going, I have about like an hour and a half.
No, sorry, you do
Well,
not.
I don't think we want to take an hour and a half.
We might all get up and walk out.
Yeah, yes. Comically, I was reaching out to Jackie a couple days ago, just letting her know that I said my apologies, but my hope is our next meeting is really efficient. We get out of about 7:30 because I've got my penultimate college visit that I need to make with my son and my father's 80th birthday. I need to catch a flight late after our meeting, so I'm like, okay, I just need to be quick, and here
this
I
is
am.
good practice.
It's like
Yes.
this
Yes,
is
good practice.
this is excellent practice. In terms of opening days, it seems like for any superintendent, some of the challenge you have at the beginning of every school year is just buses, and I think a unique aspect of Cape Cod that I've come to appreciate is that you will have one student who lives down at the end of Cedar Street in Chatham, and that suddenly you have these challenges on you're getting a child here and a child out there, and some of the bus times and the routes each year as we go into each year need to kind of get some of the kinks worked out. So we have that first day of school where we're hearing it's like, okay, the buses are, I keep my fingers crossed. It's like, okay, if some of the buses are only 15 minutes late, we'll call it a success the first day, and then Mary wanting to make sure that the kids are all organized on the buses as they're heading out, which makes complete sense. Sort of means that they're leaving about 15 minutes later than when you'd hope, which means the middle school and high school runs home get delayed. But it's also nice that that a week in, most of those kinks are already, working their way through. I give Tony London a lot of credit. I mean, there's, when we took transportation in-house by going with the collaborative, there's been a lot that has kind of fallen on Tony's plate, and she's managed to keep it, to keep things going, and I give her a lot there. And then we also have some interesting challenges that this year has also presented, be it tree work that seems to be on every main street in Chatham, and then a sewer project that seems to have cut us off from some of the main routes in Harwich, and still the buses are getting there pretty much on time already. So we had a great conversation and a chance to sort of thank the bus drivers. So we had a nice breakfast for them this morning, and had the bus drivers go and have breakfast and kind of get to know face to face all of our principals. So so it was nice, a nice morning that way. One of the things I will admit, I did not anticipate about new buses is the gremlins that new vehicles have, and I should have, having bought over the years, many new vehicles, you'll have like one little glitch that needs to kind of get worked out. So in those first days, we had some interesting things happen with buses, like the kids get on the bus and then the driver goes to open the door, but the door had not been either lubricated enough, and so it's so you have door opening issues, or but those things have again worked their way through, and but it's nice that we're kind of getting into that beginning of the school year. Glitches are behind us on transportation, and that is now not dominating the days anymore at central office as much as it was the day one. The preschool programs and infant toddler program at Harwich Elementary School, infant toddler, I think I might have mentioned last time we met, filled up within the first couple hours. The preschool program's largely, I believe by now is probably completely filled. We'll go and get all the details from the Y when we meet with them next week. We have bathrooms that I believe on Monday will go in just a few days. So all the permitting and drawings and everything that needed to happen on that end. So so we're poised to have those go up within a week next week, and we'll then have those rooms ready for the YMCA to go and get the requisite licensing that they need. Head Start has started over at Harwich Elementary School. Their big challenge is still outreach to families, and so they have ample Chatham Elementary, sorry. They have ample space at the moment, so I believe they only have 2 or 3 children that have been fully enrolled. I think part of their their challenge is when they were able to kind of get a jump on outreach to families across Cape Cod as CDI came in to take over Head Start. But I think when I last spoke, they had I think it was 2 families from Chatham and 1 from Harwich, and are trying to expand. So I will likely on my end be putting out something to families, just letting them know what's available through that program, and hopefully help them fill it with with families who could need that support. I have a meeting on Monday with our peer leaders here at the high school. Every couple of years we do the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and for me it's been a labor of love going through the data every 2 years to kind of sort of look at the numbers myself, crunch them, develop a presentation, and then work with a set of students to have students delivering the results of their presentation. So I'll be working with Joy on coordinating a date for a public presentation of that, but come probably our first meeting in October, I'll share with you some of the highlights of that presentation as we get that set to go. But it's very clear, looking at the Youth Risk Survey, how vaping, which, this is our third time administering it. So we did it in the 2014-15 school year, and vaping wasn't even a question. And 2 years later, in the 2016-17 school year, vaping starts to be a question, and it was sort of a, we'll call it an issue, but a low-level issue. And now 2 years later, I mean, if I was to say, okay, what's one place in the survey that says, okay, there was a huge change over the course of 2 years, it's in that vaping. And I'm actually having a phone call to the person who crunched the raw data, because I just want to make sure that the numbers are right. Like anytime you see a number that's so much bigger than the time before, I'm always trying to dig and say, okay, I want to do my own validity check before I go do a public presentation that has a number up there. And it's kind of it's amazing how much that has kind of crept into the sort of culture of youth. And I know we hear more and more about it in the news, but that's something that's very real for families here. I'll point out, no more real than any other school district or anywhere else in the state or nation, but it has changed a lot over 2 years.
Thank you.
And then just, sorry.
Yes.
Just important dates, we mentioned at the last meeting, the NEASC visit here at the high school, October 27th to October 30th. And the evening of the 27th, we'll have a reception here that hopefully you can be at. And usually sort of late in the afternoon on October 30th, there's oftentimes the committee on their way out, reporting out, some preliminary findings. So I encourage you, if you can have those available on your calendars. And then the last thing I had there is we have the annual Massachusetts Association of School Committees joint conference with MASS coming up. It's November 6th through the 8th. And Leah just needs to know who of you she should be signing up for that conference. That's it.
Okay. With the, just a quick question, on the annual conference, is there a limit, or can anybody go that wants to go?
Yeah, anyone can.
Okay, all right. Okay, so just like, any questions about the superintendent's report? Questions, answers? Go ahead, Jerry.
The only question I have is, when was that survey given to students?
Spring of this past year. So we got the raw data, sort of in the summertime, and so we're.
That's a good time to give it, actually. You see, everything's in bloom.
There's grades. Remind me what grades take it. Is it 5 through 12 or 7 through 12?
So we do it. We do it as a 9 through 12, in part because 9 through 12, and nationally you have 9 through 12 data that you compare to. So we get the report back as a 9 through 12 report. We gave the report, or we gave the survey as well to our 8th graders, because the state had a very, very similar youth health survey that they were administering at the middle school. My wanted hope was that we would have that data from the state, and I could go and dovetail that into areas of the presentation where appropriate. That one wasn't in my control. So if it comes in, before, sort of the middle of October, when I imagine we'll do the public presentation of the youth risk survey, I'll take pieces of that and plug it in, which is, so 2 years ago when we did this, there wasn't a similar thing happening statewide at the middle school level, so we gave the youth risk survey, the only thing we cut out of the middle school youth risk survey were a lot of the questions on sexuality. Other than that, it was the identical survey, we definitely, the presentation that I have made is largely a 9/12 presentation when we have data to compare to other high schools in the state and nation. And then when it comes to things like vaping, I would go and present, here's how the trends show up from 8th grade through 12th grade. So it's sort of a hybrid on how we look at it. If we do a national, state national comparisons, they're always 9 through 12. But when we look internally at ourselves, I do sort of a comparison of 8th through 12th grade on those questions.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I just wanted to say for the buses, going back to the buses, I was like really impressed how nicely they were parked in the high school. I mean, because that was a concern we had, is where were the buses going? And it looked not out of place at all. I mean, just driving through the parking lot. So I think that all worked out really nicely.
It has.
Yeah.
I'm quite pleased with the way things have worked out.
Yeah.
And it was a lot more work than for Katie and I and folks in our office for the first couple of days of the school year. But we knew that was going to be the case going in.
Yeah, but anyway, good job. All righty, we've got one more item here, which would be the Monomoy Regional Middle School Student Parent Handbook for 2019-2020. I know we reviewed that last time, so now we need to take an official vote. May I have a motion to accept, please? Someone other than Nancy?
Try.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the Monomoy Regional Middle School 2019-2020 Student Parent Handbook as presented.
Second.
Well done.
Wonderful.
You
All
can do them
those- Oh, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, that's approved. And I think that brings us to a close, I believe, unless I've missed anything.
Nobody.
Oh, yes, and then the warrants have been presented for signature, so those are here being presented. And I think that's it. So we are here at the moment of closure, so may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
All right. so it's like
Again,
two-
now everybody's
second?
interested. I'll second that.
Anyone in favor? Let me run through my thing here. Anyone in favor? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, perfect. No one's abstaining. Great. Then the meeting has been adjourned at 7:27. Thank you all.
Thank you.